Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker this morning. For the last 3 years, Quad A's planning this event, we went first to Major General Kirk Vollmecke, the PEO. And without hesitation, each time he's committed to supporting this event. And he supported everything we wanted to do. We literally could not be holding this event without his support and guidance. Thanks for all your help and support, Kirk. Thank you. So at that point, if I can have you come up on stage, they are tired of listening to me, and they're ready to listen to you.
Steve, thank you very much. I'm going to speak from down on the floor, but thank you as always. I appreciate your leadership, the association members, all the users that are here. I hope that you're having a great professional development session. And I know there's been already a number of classified sessions and talk sessions, and as well as the industry partners. Thank you very much. Everything we do, we would not be able to do if it were not for the partnerships. Okay, I've just got a couple opening charts to level set those that may not know my organization and my teams and where we're located. And then I've got 5 core charts. I hope to actually stir this crowd up early in the morning, knowing that Huntsville did not get shut down by ice or snow. But again, and then I hope there will be plenty of time for questions and answers. First chart, please. Here's my organization. My program executive office is headquarters in Aberdeen Proving Grounds, north of Baltimore. And I encourage you guys to come up. And you can see all my project offices, program offices underneath from left to right. And I've got a chart that highlights each of their missions. I'm not going to get into the details, but I'll be glad afterwards to address any questions pertaining to other mission areas within the broader portfolio as a whole. Next chart. You can see we are a geographically separated organization. So I have, again, aircraft survivability, an anchor down here in Huntsville, Alabama. I also have a good portion of force protection, integrated base defense activities that are also down here. And then I have a classified office co-located with RSTRAT SMDC in a space-based activity that we do. We're up in the National Capital Region, so all our ground-based terrestrial sensors, everything from a target acquisition capability as well as the 3rd gen, and then where we're going to head even to 4th gen is all anchored out of Belvoir. I have a national exploitation office that's there purposely designed to make sure we're plugged into the intelligence community and all the agency activities to bring those national investment programs to bear down to the tactical edge into our Army formations for capability benefit. I also have the world of biometrics, and that's also at Fort Belvoir. Those offices there, and again, tied to labs and a number of activities. Up at Aberdeen, we have, of course, the petting, the collection management, the DSIG, which is really for the heart of the intel enterprise itself to enable, again, for the commanders. I also have aerostats, persistent surveillance. I have all the electronic warfare, and I'm going to touch upon that on a couple of the charts, the importance about converged domain activities and why it's even relevant to talking about aircraft survivability equipment. And I also have a number of other classified office activities up there. And then again, manned, unmanned, ISR. So we do all the payloads up there, and we take care of a number of classified customer and activities too. Also, headquarters at Aberdeen Proving Grounds. That's the organization location. We're also L&Os everywhere. I have offices at Fort Meade too, because we work very closely with Cybercom, as well as Army Cyber and many other organizations. Next. That's just the missions in general, but today I'm going to focus on aircraft survivability. But I'm also going to talk about the direction path of multispectral, multifunctional. I'm also going to try and stir thought, I hope, in this room to understand the information environment. And I would challenge all of us, we must realize the domains have converged, and I'm talking about ground, air, cyberspace, and space. And because of that, and because of where technology is moving, we must rethink within the domains how we apply our solutions and our activities. And I hope you pause and really think about that. One of my charts, when I get to it, ASE is part of the information environment. The question is, are we going to stay stovepiped, or are we going to understand the converged activities between cyber, intel, SIGINT, and EW, and bring it to bear? And that's where I'm going to come back to. Next. This kind of sets up in what I just opened up with. I think it's important. What's unique in this portfolio is we make sure that we provide systems that sense and detect the threat, but also understand it and then can take action against that threat. And that's subtle, but that's important in today's environment, especially against our near peers. And I would challenge us. Again, we're in an environment, and my philosophy has been deliver now. It is about agile and adaptive program models and constructs, getting all the wheels in the cog lined up to do that and to do it in a rapid manner. It is the only way in order for us to pace the threat, because the threat is evolving. The environment demands that we must quickly adapt our systems and capabilities to keep pace, not just with technological advances, but also as our threats adapt. And that's foundational. And that gets back to the heart. We must not have a stovepiped approach. We must really figure out. In ASE, our anchor has always been detection and protection. But I would challenge you, and I'll come to a chart that'll tell you, I believe there are other opportunities. And we are moving, our sensor world is moving towards multispectral. We're also bringing in machine learning and AI in advanced steps faster than anybody thought possible 2 or 3 years ago. Now I'll tell you, we're at the cutting edge, and machine learning is actually coming in now, real possibilities. But it is also about multifunctional. What may be a passive sensor over here, and view that, I'm telling you, in today's technological age and where we are, whether it's from machine learning, the algorithmic activities out there, the power behind software, and the nature of where multispectral sensing capabilities are advancing, we have huge opportunities to repurpose, I call, and to talk multifunctional. What may be passive viewed one way is active in another way. Actually, all sensors should be passive and active, I would challenge us. And we have huge opportunities to do that. When it comes to, again, challenging the conventional thinking, we must break down the stovepipes. And if we're committed to truly getting after situational awareness, then we must also recognize that it is dependent upon crossing the operational domains, as well as the spanning the disparate and divided domains. We've got to bring it all together. And I'll come to a chart to further illustrate and why I believe that is necessary, given the environment, but it's also because, again, there are huge opportunities to come up with integrated solutions. Next chart, please. And hopefully the charts stir. Challenges, I'm not going to get into a lot of the other parts of the portfolio outside of open up. We are focused on delivering, all of us collectively, and we can't do that without users decisively engaged up front, from early phases of planning to actually awarding, part of that participation in awarding a contract, to partnering with our industry members and actually then delivering that kit, but in an iterative design fashion. And I'll come back to talking that on the subsequent chart. We must continue to push, and modernize our ASE. We have been working extremely hard for the last 3 years, all triggered by 2014 on an intelligence breach. That was a wake-up call. But what I will tell you, and to all the users here in the audience, we are moving out. So again, we have put stopgap measures in place, and they are flying. On one platform now, over 7,000 combat hours. The other 2 platforms are now configured and flying. So again, we are not standing back. We are taking the urgent needs, coupling them by design and accelerating programs, not possible. Even on missile warning, we're on our next activity, putting things that no one thought possible, machine learning actually, commercial imagery, bringing it all to bear in ways never thought possible in order to reduce false alarm, increase discrimination, identification of the threat, and getting after the pace. And that capability did not exist, but we're already just a year into the effort, and we will actually have the prototypes and be flying within a year following. So traditional sense would have taken 7 to 8 years to do that. We're going to do it in 2 years. And that's my message. We have changed, and we're doing that. And we're doing that with the users in a fashion that allows us to do rapid acquisitions. And it requires agile approaches to include with our industry partners in the design engineering and how we approach that. And I'll come to examples. But again, I can't stress the importance of continuing our modernization efforts on ASE. But we must find, again, understand multispectral and also understand the opportunities on multifunctional. Manned ISR. So I do worry about our manned ISR. I will tell you, again, with ARLE and the next generations of ISR that we're working on, we also must make the investments first in protection. And we also must think about the opportunities, just like the challenges we've had with A-kitting all our ASE on all our platforms and fleets. We must go look at first our manned ISR. And again, we've got to, because there we're driving multispectral, we're driving multifunctional, we're driving greater range distance standoff, all necessary, to include AJ. A lot of that no one thought possible. We're doing that now. But we also have to bring the ASE to bear. The manned ISR should not be the afterthought. I just challenge the community, challenge, I know, again, we have reps from the G357 Aviation. I'd ask us, there's huge opportunities. With our next generation platform, the ARLE, huge opportunity to bring the A-kitting and move ahead. Also with radar warning. So we've been heavily focused on IR-based and missile warning. We have now turned our attention to radar warning, but we must accelerate that world because it also creates other opportunities. And again, especially for the manned ISR platforms. And again, we're working through and launching DB2, which is the next generation, moving into the digital age, but it's not good enough. Modernize RWR, and Kevin Chaney will come up later and talk really through all the program activities. We must take that to the next step. And this is about addressing, again, our near peers, and again, the challenging IADS environment of today and into the future. And we must get after this. But I would also tell you, huge opportunities to make sure that we also have electronic warfare enhancements. So this is about enhanced protection as well as enhanced situational understanding. I'm telling you again, there are huge opportunities with the growth and the proliferation of where sensors as a whole are going in terms of bringing SA and SU together in ways not thought possible. Next chart, please. I mentioned this because in order to pace the threat, we must have agile and adaptive program models. To do that requires users and industry partners lockstep. The upper left is an example. Lieutenant Colonel Rod Turner is here in the audience, and he is my PM for Kirk. It's a good example of what you must do. When you have an aggressive schedule, a complex system that's microelectronic dependent, in a form factor never thought possible, with everything conceivable from a dual axis gimbal to a third generation leap detector assembly and everything else coupled into it. You have to have a test fix test approach to get after. And you have to mature the reliability as you're maturing the supply base, and the manufacturing. Because if you do not do that, you will then wait another 2 more years to mature out, and the program will move too slow into production, and then it will be obsolete before you actually kit out your first aircraft and fly. We must change the model, and we're doing that. General Gaylor's not here, but he said it the previous year, 2 years ago. More, better, faster. It's also about universal A-kitting. And again, we are deeply committed to the entire aviation community with PEO Aviation, with the Future Vertical Lift, CFT, and Cape Set 1 is to make sure that we do have a universal approach. That's what Limwas is doing, especially on the A-kit side. But we must bring that to bear. And again, this is a model construct to get after aggressively managing, seeing, understanding programs, and delivering now. Contracting-wise, other transaction agreements, authority that's in the middle. So what you see a picture, although not depicted, is on MFU large air. So we're going down a path right now using the C5 consortium OTA. I actually have 5 major OTA actions. One in the world of biometrics, and the other ones are caught up in assured PNT, both mounted and dismounted, in order to drive prototyping solutions. And that's the purpose of the OTA. Driving prototyping activities to prove out concepts and needs, inform the requirements through actually proving out and demonstrating first, as opposed to trying to say, here's my guesstimate in the requirements, I think I got the requirements right, and then let me build out an end state solution assuming that those are the right requirements, only to find out they're not the right requirements, and then in the end you find out it doesn't work effectively. That's changing the model. But the OTA is not a program in itself. It's a proving out mechanism. It's a powerful mechanism, but it's not a substitute. As within the acquisition community and as a PEO, and at the bottom, I have 2 804 efforts that are also going to be kicking off. That's a unique authority that was actually given to us back all the way 2016, but we didn't implement to this past year. It is delegated all the way down to the PEOs. Each service has implemented it differently. The Air Force has made almost just about every one of their programs 804. What I worry about is, will Congress clamp down on the authority? It has to be the right strategy, right approach, path that you use it. And I think we are using it smartly as it's designed intended. There is a rapid prototyping path, and there's also a rapid fielding path. All of this is about being able to make sure we deliver in less than 5 years. Both enable, it depends. It's about your strategy and plan. But again, I just highlight that contracting-wise and all that. Since I've been the PEO, so we've broken that tyranny of getting on contract. For procurements over 100 million when I started, we averaged about 30 months to get on contract. We're at 13 months right now. And that's the environment. And it is about agile adaptive. So I just ask you guys, think about that. That's examples and all that, and I'll be glad to take questions into that. Next chart. I opened up with this. ASE is part of the information environment. And again, the world of cyber, Intel, SIGINT, and EW are converging. And ASE is in the middle of that. There are huge opportunities as we talk about characterizing, queuing, and thinking about systems that are multifunctional, that may be passive, may be active. Huge opportunities to bring to bear. It is just not thinking about missile warning or laser warning or radar warning or the countering. All that holistically needs to be brought to bear. But it's also, in doing that, is recognizing we must change our thinking about how we view the domains. And when we do that, we create opportunities for integrated solutions. And that's my message. And I believe there are huge opportunities, especially as we focus on EA and electronic warfare. And there are improvements across the board. I would ask even our industry partners here, even as an ASE symposium, which again, thank you very much for everybody's attendance. Every year the symposium has grown, and we need to continue to make this an incredible forum of idea exchanges, professional development, dialogue, and industry exchange, so everybody understands the direction path we're trying to go, and we go faster, because that's what's required. But thank you very much. But again, this I just ask you to think about that, because critical to SA and SU is understanding that it is part of this broader information environment. And we must really rethink how we view the domains. When we do that, we knock down stovepipe solution paths. And that's what I am making the case to all of you, that we must rethink. And I believe I have one more chart. Again, Colonel Kevin Chaney for ASE will get up. He's going to walk you through all the capabilities and programs and the efforts and all that. I opened up with limited entry missile warning, just an example of the art of change and what we're doing. Things not thought possible with technologies, to include commercial technologies and all that we're bringing and trying to learn. We have coupled multiple ONS as well as joint urgent ONS, operational needs, combined with design to accelerate programs in all the activities from a detection and a protection standpoint. There are huge opportunities ahead. In the backup charts, and you'll see there's also for industry opportunities to understand, hey, where are the major procurements? Where are the major acquisitions? All that will be in the backups and all the charts releasable. But we're at a strategic inflection point. And again, as we push hard, we appreciate the Army's priority and the investments made in ASE, but now we must really get after the opportunities based upon the converged domain activities and the necessary EW enhancements that need to play out. And we're going to ask industry, look, again, low intensification, hard to find threats. So we want you to continue to make investments, especially in the next generation IR sensors. But it's also about understanding the other phenomenologies and the other opportunities that sensors now present in ways to support, detect, and protect in a classic manner. Never thought that actually ground-based radar activities and active protection could actually be viewed in the world where it could cross over into other domains and other mission areas can benefit and come together in communities, both to mature out technology smartly, but also to make investments jointly in order to come up with solutions that address all needs, all environment requirements. They're here. It is all. Even in ASE, we're going to continue to be layered in a manner to enable. I would also challenge us, because of the environment of machine learning and what we're doing, we're at the cuff finally to make sure, even in our defeat mechanisms and our approaches, it's not just about the refinement of your TTPs as aviators and what you do at that critical moment, but we also need to recognize, again, back to a converged RF, a contested RF, an environment that brings in those domains and the opportunity that ASE sits in the middle. We must create that opportunity that hasn't been there in the past. And again, I see all this coming together in huge opportunities. And now, is this greater than 5 years? No, this is now, in the next 2 to 3 years that we're going to be steadily focused on. And we're at that inflection point. And again, I can get into all the details on the urgent needs, the activities that we're addressing, but again, we do want the investments. We want industry to think repurposing. We want everybody to think about passive to active and all those opportunities. And it's here, and there are huge opportunities to bring to bear, as well as the enhancements for EW, all that, I think, create opportunities to strengthen and to modernize our ASE. What are your questions? The group is quiet. There are backup charts too, if we need to, that get into industry day opportunities. But I'd actually really think hard on that passive to active. I'm pushing hard on that because I believe there are real opportunities. And I also believe for the first time for aircrafts, it's rare that birds fly alone. What I will tell you, we also now have huge opportunities to lessen the cognitive burden in our cockpits. And back to the integrated approaches, we also have a huge opportunity now to make sure that even in formations, that we can allow cooperative engagement and optimizing our platforms to deal with the most stressing threats against. And that everybody not all aircrafts in the formation do the same thing because of the way we've approached our defeat mechanisms. We're going to change that all up. There are huge opportunities based upon the world and the domains that have converged and where sensor growth is going. And it's moving faster than anybody can imagine. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, excuse me, sir. Sir, question, and this is all coming from the ASE perspective. Can you go into a little more specifics on what authority the 804 will allow you to do to more rapidly integrate or to take in new technologies and get them tested and fielded? That's the first question, authority with 804. And secondly, if you had your wish for next year, what would you tell industry that you would really like to see them improve or accomplish in 2019?
Let me start with the latter question. And for the industry partners here, we want you to, again, low intensification, hard to detect. I'd ask you to continue your investments in next generational IR sensors. But they need to be, again, on a path to multispectral. And it's also to realize it's about integrated solutions. It's not just about missile warning. It's, again, realizing we also have laser warning, radar warning, and we must be layered in our manners that how we approach our counters and our solutions in holistic manners. So I'd ask you, there are huge opportunities, but we need the anchor point still on that low intensification IR base. That's still going to be the core key component, but there must be a growth path as a whole. And back to the Section 804, I have all the authorities I need as a PEO. And I'm unique because I work with the SCO, I work with the RCO, I was actually the first to pilot out. I have that relationship, but I had the relationship with every agency in IC by design in order to make sure precious dollars in the National Investment Program are brought to bear to the benefit of the services. We all have a TNCAP office to exploit those in manners, but also to connect dots because we're very compartmentalized for a good reason, but at the same time, we need to bring it to bear. On the 804 authority, it's just making sure we understand the problem set and the strategy and the plan is nested up. On a rapid prototyping effort, it clearly is beneficial because it says you've got to still be able to get it out and then leave it residually in a unit for a time period. And you can go from rapid prototyping to rapid fielding. Rapid fielding, the only kicker is that you've got to complete your entire fielding. You have to define that fielding within 5 years. And the rapid prototyping is also. It's similar to years ago with IT. Your clock starts the day you obligate your first dollar. You have then up to 5 years. But we're going to beat that. Everything in the ASE portfolio is 3 years or less. It is about rapid integration, testing, qual efforts, get it out. Because if not, obsolescence plays in, and then you get caught in the other area. I'd also ask all of industry here too, please be aware of your supply chains, focus on your supply chains, your program protections, and to help us. We must get after that as a team. We also need your help in microelectronics. And I need to know, again, if you're experiencing lead times going so far to the right because you just can't compete with the automotive industry or other industries because everybody is actually in the RF now. And again, what we're seeing is in areas where we previously have not had problems on parts and components and subsystems, now we do because other industries have greater demand. Even the iPhones have greater demand, and they're gobbling up the world of microelectronics. And we are at the bottom because as a defense customer, we're the smallest in terms of the demand need. But I'd like to know your challenges. Did I answer your 2 questions? And if you got a rapid solution on radar warning and more investments there, we want all the companies to continue to push that. We can no longer stay in the digital when we're not, or the analog. We are moving in the digital, but I would argue not fast enough. A modernized RWR is the next thing that I hope the leadership of the Army gets behind. It is not that it's technically not possible or achievable, far from that. It's a balance of resources with all the competing demands and priorities that the Army has. But again, back to this, I believe multispectral, multifunctional, huge opportunities, EW enhancements, opportunities, because again, ASE is part of the information environment. The domains have converged, and there are huge opportunities to take passive to active and holistically bring. Everything will be layered in manners, and again, it is about agile and adaptive. And I think I'm getting the hook from Steve.
Not the hook. You're getting an applause. What a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Kirk, thank you so much again for a great message this morning, for joining us. I'd ask